Start. Hansi Flick, Jurgen, said yesterday, I can only congratulate Liverpool as they've got a great player and especially a great person, referring, of course, to Thiago Alcantara. So what can you tell us now about the deal, where it's at, and what difference he will make to your team?
First and foremost, that Hansi Flick is not only a very successful manager, he's a very nice person as well. Huh? So apart from that, there's nothing really to say because it's how I learned. It's not official until it's announced, and I'm not the announcer, and so I don't know. But really, what I can say now, it looks quite promising. My hands are tied, pretty much. So I'm. Probably it's for all Liverpool supporters. It's quite useful to have a look at a few LFC channels over the day. I would say that could help. And then we will see when whatever happens. But yeah, what was your question, by the way?
Well, I'll go about it hypothetically speaking then as well. Then, what difference he could make to your squad now?
I would prefer to speak about that actually after it's then finally official. But I think most of the things I will say, if it happens, are obvious. So it's nothing what somebody has to discover about this player, and that's how it is. So, as I said, it's tricky now for me. It's not announced. Nothing is announced. So that's all I can say.
If it does happen, it's easy for us. It's easy for us to put two and two together and say it could impact on Gini Wijnaldum's future. So, is that going to be the case, or can you categorically say that Gini will be with you?
If it happens, it has no impact on anybody's future in a negative way, if you want that. So, like somebody has to leave because somebody comes in or whatever. No, that I can say that if something happens, there is no impact.
I will ask you about football now then as well. What are you what are you expecting against Chelsea, from Chelsea, especially in comparison to what we saw in that 5-3 at Anfield when you lifted the Premier League trophy, of course?
Yeah, last year we played Chelsea pretty often, pretty early, then in the season, and all the games were really difficult. And that's what I expect, first and foremost. And the last game, or the first game against Brighton, was now a game how it looks when you play Brighton. Especially, I'm not sure, but when you play Brighton, we all suffer because they just play good football, and you have to be decisive in the key moments. And that was the story of the game pretty much. And so pretty early, all that stuff, it's clear. We have actually absolutely no idea who Frank will line up, so many different options. And so we have to, because we don't know a lot about Chelsea in the moment, during the season that will probably change, but we have just to focus on ourselves. And there's enough work to do with that for different reasons. We are very early in the season, so we had a really intense training week, worked really on, for us, how we see it, decisive stuff. A lot of things were good in the first game. Some things were not that good. I know that, but it's the first game, so don't make it bigger, or we don't make it less important or more important than necessary. Just work with it and use it as one information. And all the rest the week was absolutely good so far. So now we have to make sure that we can transform that on the pitch, because we should better be at our best. Otherwise, it could be really tricky.
Thank you, Vinny. Anne-Marie, we're going to come to you for two questions for PLP. After Anne-Marie, we go to Juliet. I'm not sure who's on from Merseyside. BBC Merseyside, if they could let me know. James from TalkSport and Carl Markham. Anyone else who wants to ask in the open, please use the hands up mechanism or WhatsApp me. But Anne-Marie, it's over to you.
Hello, Jurgen. You, of course, and I say this with a bit of tongue-in-cheek, extremely familiar with the Bundesliga. We've now got several players here in the Premier League. You have your own Naby Keita, of course, Roberto Firmino, Aubameyang at Liverpool, and Timo Werner at Chelsea. I wanted to ask you, why has the Bundesliga become such a talent hub for the Premier League?
Did that change? Earlier was, I don't know a lot, but Mesut Özil came years ago. Michael Ballack was here for a long time. I think there were some players. It's just, it's a really tough league. It's a good league. Germany is a football country, if you want. It's the main sports there. So years ago, I think we all agree, not only because Germany became world champion, but there was they made some good decisions with talent scouting, talent training, building academies and stuff like this. So but I was part there I was part of the process there, and so that helped a lot. So you cannot make these decisions and get the benefit the next day, obviously. So you need some time to really see the improvement. But now it's a good league, a really, really good league, a tough league to play. Yes, with one very dominant team, but apart from that, the rest is really tactically good, a lot of talents. And so the Premier League is obviously the league with the most money and the most competitive league, and that's then they all get interested in these kind of players. And the players in Germany, pretty much all of them, the German players there anyway, most of them speak English, so England is a natural solution for them. So it's not at home, but still kind of familiar, and so that's all reasons. But we had good players in Germany when nobody was interested from England already. So Miroslav Klose, Lukas Podolski played in England as well, by the way, pretty good as well. So there were some players, but yeah, in the moment, I think Havertz and Werner, especially from these young boys, were really the outstanding players. All the other young and outstanding players play probably at Borussia Dortmund. So that's really, it's a good league for England to scout. And as long as they can afford the transfer fees, we will see these kind of transfers for sure.
And games are going to be coming thick and fast over the next few weeks or so. How concerned are you about fixture congestion? And then can you give us an idea about squad rotation?
Or the next months, actually. I think it stops in May. If we stay in competitions, then it will just stay tough the whole year. But we knew that beforehand. My first concern is always player welfare. That's why I was not happy what I said, and nobody really speaks about it anymore. But why I was not happy with the decision not to stick to 20 and 5 and going back to 18 and 3. Because that makes just the situation more tricky, even more tricky. And we all will realize in the next few weeks how tough it will be. One is the imagination that you think, look at that, all 3 days a game, stuff like this from now until whenever. But being in it is then different again. So we try to prepare as good as possible, and we will try to deal with the situation as good as possible. But everybody needs to be lucky with injuries and stuff like this, that you can even rotate. And that we will see, but it's about focusing on the next game. That will not change, and the next game for us is Chelsea. But 100% it will be a tough one for all of us. So that's then fair play. But from the players' welfare point of view, I really have to say the other solution would have been much better. But obviously, a lot of people saw that in a different way. That's why we have the situation we have.
Okay, we're going to go to Juliet from the BBC, then James Mountford from BBC Merseyside, and then James from TalkSport. But Juliet, you're up.
So, Jurgen, you say it's quite promising that Thiago will become a Liverpool player. Not quite over the line yet, but players like him don't become available very often at the price that's being reported. He seems to be a long-term admirer of the Premier League, wants to play in the Premier League. You seem to be a long-term admirer of him. So how much of a coup is it for Liverpool to attract this type of player?
Very good effort, really. All these things, sorry, I can answer after something is announced or not. It's not, we cannot now talk about these kind of things in a hypothetical way and say just if he comes and stuff like this. It's just we have to wait a little bit. So you waited so long and often in your life, so we all are used to it. So in this moment, there's nothing to say about it. This is the press conference for the Chelsea game. I respect 100% if you ask me about these things and things around. I get it, but I can't answer these kind of questions now.
Thank you, Juliet. We'll go to James from BBC Merseyside. James, bottom left.
Hello, Jurgen. Can I just ask you, please, about injury news for the match and just squad news?
Yeah, intense week. Few little things here and there, but in a moment should be okay. Nobody is coming back or whatever, and the rest we have to see. So still 2 days to go, 2 training sessions, but for the moment we seem okay.
And last season you won 14 times away from home in the league, which was a club record. Could you just say, why do you think your team was so good away from home, and what's different about it?
I didn't think last season about it. Why should I now start with it? It's just we don't make a difference between home and away game. It is a difference, obviously, because of the atmosphere in our stadium usually, and but we have different ways to play, and we had to defend with all we have, and sometimes we scored more often than the opponent. But you know the games. We can take the Chelsea game. We scored 2 wonderful goals, both were after set pieces. We had more chances, but it was a proper fight. That's what we have to be ready for. I mean, we should not make a difference between or which ground we are playing in the moment. So just the pitch is similar long, similar wide, and so let's go for it. The goal is in a pretty similar position on all pitches. So we don't make that difference really, but of course, sometimes you can have a positive or a negative run, whatever, and it's not really to explain. We play just consistently competitive, good football. That was the reason for it, and that's what we have to do again. So we were really in the game. We didn't give the ball away, or we played with 20% away, possession away, and 80% at home, or whatever. We didn't really change. We adapted to the different opponents, but we didn't really change, and that's another point maybe. But in the end, you need to work for these kind of numbers. 14 games is incredible, and I'm pretty sure of the how many then. How many games do we have, away games? 18. 19, right, 19. And that means just that we lost or drew. Oh no, we drew 5. We drew 3 and lost 2, if I'm right. So, and actually, I don't like that. So we still just have to work on. But you know, we go to Chelsea, and that's a tough place, with or without supporters. The team they have, the manager they have, it will just be really hardest work again, and that's all we need to know.
Okay, James from TalkSport, and then Carl Markham from the Press Association. I think that's it for the Open before we go to our first embargo, unless anyone wants to flag anything. So James, TalkSport.
Jurgen, are you looking forward to seeing Frank Lampard on Sunday? From the outside, it feels like there's a nice rivalry building, albeit it's clear that you've got a lot of respect for one another.
There's no rivalry. You should stop reading newspapers, because honestly, when I heard about these kind of things, what all the different journalists made of it, I really don't get that. It's like Winnie asks me a question, I answer it, and everybody takes it then the way he wants to take it. It might be a language issue or whatever. You all make a story of that I said something about the transfer behavior of Chelsea. What I said, in the situation we are in, we cannot deal with the situation like other clubs. One of them was Chelsea, probably I mentioned, I don't know. And then you make a story of it, and then you create a rivalry between Frank Lampard and me. Why? We meet 2-3 times a year. I respect a lot what he's doing. He's probably a really nice guy but I don't know, because I don't know in private. So like he doesn't know me in private. So, and then on the sideline, we are quite animated and emotional, and sometimes you say a few words, a few minutes later, you wish you wouldn't have said it. That's how life is. That's how football is. There's nothing more than that. Whatever you want. I heard some people would be happy if there would be an old rivalry again, like it was between Arsene and Alex Ferguson, I think. I don't know. I'm pretty sure these 2 guys were pretty good with each other as well. And I don't think the world needs any stories about these kind of things to be 100%. Only some of you in the newspapers need that. But I can't change it. I can't help with a rivalry. Sorry. I have no problems, not at all, with Frank Lampard.
Just because it offends the newspaper writers, it's not just the newspapers. There we go. So.
Oh, sorry, it was not only newspapers. Who was it? Sorry. Yes. And did anybody feel offended?
Yes.
Mr. King, did you feel anything?
No, we'll come to that. Never mind. Right, okay. I think it's the last couple in the Open from Carl Markham. I'm not sure. Do we clash you as a newspaper, Carl? Or yeah.
Well,
The media in general, is that better?
There we go, lovely.
Yeah, okay.
Done.
Now they all got a knock. Fine. Is that really better? No, I don't understand that. Okay,
And you
sorry.
offended all of us now. That's okay. Just to go back to the transfer point, Jurgen. I know you always said that if something was an opportunity arose that was too good, too good to turn down, you would do it. But there was sort of an inference that you might have to sell to buy players or bring money in before you could do these sorts of deals. I'm just wondering what has changed in that respect, or has anything changed in that respect?
No, it's just not. It's not about. It's about timing. So sometimes you buy before you sell. Sometimes you sell before you buy. Sometimes different scenarios. Sometimes you don't buy now, but buy later when you sell later, and sometimes you earn the money back in a different way. Whatever. That's the only thing. What is always true for us. What we earn with football, we spend in football. So that's the club. It's probably a pretty short summary of the philosophy, but that's one of the key points. So, and we cannot just say, so now this year we need this and that, and to say, but we can afford it. And then I wouldn't insist on it, but we work constantly on improvement. That's what we constantly do. And sometimes people like it, and sometimes they like it later. That's fact.
So does that leave the door open for more improvement before the end of the window?
The window itself leaves the window open because it's open until the 6th of October and longer in one way, I think. Yeah. So that's normal. But that was always the same. I cannot promise we will do something, and I wouldn't, but I cannot say it's 100% sure that we don't do anything. So it's just a situation. Just that it's a developing situation. So everything could happen until the 6th of October. Player comes to me and asks me, so boss, I want to go. I don't expect that, but it can happen. And then we have to react to all these kind of things can happen.